The South will rise again, as they would say in North versus South. So this is a game series I'm not too familiar with. My familiarity with it was that an NES game existed, and that is based on a comedic comic book strip, or newspaper strip, I should say, or a comic story thing. Anyway, point is, that's what I was familiar with. So when I went to go buy some Amazon, no, not Amazon, Play Asia stuff, there was some Play Asia stuff, and I always go for that free shipping. So I went and looked at some of the stuff I still needed to order and mashed together some stuff. And in the search for a few random, oddities, I came across the Bluecoats North vs. South for the PS4. This was a quote-unquote limited edition. It just comes with a slipcover, a little holographic thing, the thing it came with, like the Among Us and a coin. So not really anything particularly special, but and it was pretty cheap. So I was like, oh well, I'm a little familiar with the existence of the NES game. So I took a quick peek at some footage for this version, and it has a really nice aesthetic. It definitely captures the aesthetic of the artwork I've seen for the Bluecoats. So I was like, well, it's pretty well, why not? So I got, and I wanted to try it out, and I tried it out, and well, let's say my first reception of the game was a little rough. So I was like, well, I could just be playing this wrong, or I could need a little bit more knowledge. So, to the research lab, and I actually watched an actual not an entire playthrough, but I watched some actual amounts of gameplay of various versions of this game. So, I will say, on a positive note, if you're familiar with older versions of this game, they kind of just 3D-fied most of the gameplay. The only things that I seen as a big difference between all the versions of this game is I kind of break it up into three different categories. You have what the NES version was based off, was a PC version that was very popular in Europe on various computers. And that's what the NES version was based off of. Then, sometime, from what I understand, in the 2000s, came a PC version that was also called The Bluecoats vs. North and South. And this version replaced fort fighting and, with these kind of arcade shooting scenes, like where you would be behind the character, they duck in and out, kind of like Time Crisis, shooting enemies within the view of the background of the fort that they have presented in front of them. Then you have this version, which replaced that. That version I just spoke of was delisted. So I could not find if there existed a CD copy of that, but from what I understand, that version came out in the early 2000s, so I imagine it probably does have a CD copy. It's just that it was probably only in Europe, which means it's probably not easy to come across on the interweb here in America. I legit could only find copies of super ungodly old versions of North and South. So, probably exists, don't know what it looks like. Probably have to go a little bit more into trying to find that. But that version was delisted for this version, and this version replaced fort fighting and train robberies with FPS, first-person shooting segments. Now, aesthetically, it looks really nice, actually. It's my favorite part of the game, because it really actually has the aesthetics of the character's art style that. But, to the gameplay portion, though, the AI is pretty minimalistic. And depending on the difficulty you set, too, they'll either will just come and fucking bean you to death if you don't keep them the numbers under control, or they'll barely do any damage, and you just Superman, Superman, I am Superman. So now, on the harder difficulty, the FPS mode can be a little tricky in the fort taking aspect for sure, because you're going into a fort full of fucking people out. They'll all fucking mortar you at one time. It's pretty basic. Like, the AI just basically will usually take a quick second to cover when shot, and when they go close, they'll take a attempt to melee you. Like, and a lot of times after take a shot when they're really close to you, they'll also go for a melee hit half the time. So it's really basic AI. It's not very in depth. Now, what did they keep from the older versions was the cannon, foot soldiers, and cavalry combat, which, as far as I can understand, is consistent in all versions of this game, no matter what generation you look at. And from what I understand, the gameplay idea generally works the same. You only can control one group of units at a time and move them around on the field. Cannons shoot cannons, you charge up a shot, and it'll shoot across the field. Depending on that charge, it'll land in different places. So if they fall back, you want a big charge, and if they're more closer, you want short charges. The infantry, foot soldiers, people, you just move into position and let them take shots straight ahead, and the cavalry will slash people that are near them. And basically, there's like a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing. Like, you usually want to use the infantry on the cavalry, get them lined up, and take a shot as they come closer. You want to get the cavalry the cavalry is actually kind of the most overpowered unit in my opinion, because honestly, all you need to do is just keep out of line of the current enemy, and once you're lined up with them, you can just move in and like, honestly, like I feel like the cavalry are the overpowered unit if you know what you're doing. And the cannon is the more tricky power shot unit. But generally, a lot of the AI, from what I see in this, will usually use the cannon a lot. So you just kind of have to be where the cannon fire will come, move your people, and move the other people you want to move in to kill that. But there are different backdrops, which also were in previous versions, where sometimes you'll have bridges and things, and you'll have to take that in account. Outside of that, you'll have the big map. Now, this map is the same in all the versions as far as I understand. It's just in this version, it's in 3D. Whoa. Nothing too amazing, though. It's just a big areas are cut out, and you take over areas and forts. You get money from the forts, connecting the train tracks to get money. Use the money to either get soldiers or protection from the Indians and Mexicans, who will brutally stab you if they gave an opportunity. But yeah, if you're familiar with older versions of this game, you should generally know how the game plays. Now, well, I'd say the fun in this game probably comes in is not necessarily the boring computer, but playing someone else and having the exact, even territory. This game does have local two-player. The PS4 version does not feature online. As far as I understand, it doesn't look like any of them feature online, but I don't know that for fact. It's just from what I see, not exactly the most detailed information on this, and I'm obviously not going to buy the version multiple times. So I will mention, like, right now, as the recording of this video, this game is actually under $2 on GOG, actually. So that's a ridiculously good price, to be honest. But anyway, this is Critical Shot, and is this a critical shot? Well, that's a bit subjective. Honestly, while it took me a second to kind of learn the combat for the little battles with infantry, cannons, and cavalry, everything else was pretty basic knowledge of that. Once I learned that, I got a grasp of the game, but the AI, again, is just, for the most part, it's pretty simple. Like, the hard AI is really the only one that's going to give you some trouble, and if you know how to cheese on things, you still should be mostly okay, but that's definitely the one that proves a bit more challenge. And the other two difficulties, the AI is very abusable. Very usable. So this is definitely a recommendation to play with someone. I feel like that would be much more fun. Sadly, being a local-only game, and I don't really have anyone local to play with anymore, I can't really express that experience properly. But I can tell you that I did test out 2-player with the second control and didn't see anything particularly wrong from the general testing I did with it. I did all of it with the AI. AI-wise, this is kind of a dud, honestly. There's only a few stages, and they're all the exact same map, just with different amount of starting infantry and territory covered. Some situations you're in the advantage, and other situations you're not in the advantage, depending on if you're north or south. So it's really just doing the same map over and over, just with a different starting scenario of infantry and territory. It's incredibly bland and boring just against the AI, in my opinion. It's kind of a dud if you're just going to play the computer. But if you get to play with some friends or enemies, maybe you'll get a little bit more enjoyment. This is definitely a game I recommend getting on the cheap for sure, though. This game is not worth getting like $20 or something for. Like, honestly, to me, I wouldn't pay more than $9.99 for this game, honestly. The $10 range of that. Like, and even then, it's kind of pushing it. And the fact that it's on GOG, like, literally on sale right now, as we're recording in this video, for under $2, that is actually worth the amount of content you're getting here. Because that's probably my biggest complaint here. Not necessarily that AI is just kind of blah, but the fact that it just feels so light on content. Like, now, I do commend the fact that they were pretty faithful in most, from what I can tell, in most things other than changing the attacking scenes to FPSs with fort and train. Other than that, like, it's like just like the old games and the mechanics of it, from what I can tell. And I can award some points for that, but at the same time, I feel like maybe offering some alternate maps or something might have been a nice addition to that. Because, I mean, there's literally 4 years. That's it. Like, some additional campaigns or something would have been a nice addition to this, and definitely beefed up the demand of its price. So, yeah. And if you're going on digital storefronts, you're going to find a little bit of that usual. Console's a little bit more than PC. On PC, it's $14.99 full price. On console, it's $19.99. Right now, of course, with it being the Christmas, New Year's time right now, there's a lot of sales going on. So, like, right now, it's literally under $2 on GOG. It's like $4 on PSN and that. Those are the price ranges I would probably go for sure, honestly, because going past $10, this is I don't feel like this is a really big hit with me, honestly. And, you know, maybe if you have some nostalgia for the original or the previous version, maybe you might have a more closer relationship with this game. But honestly, if you don't have a human that you want to play this game with, I just feel like it's a skip. But if you do have a friend, family, or somebody who would love to play this with you, go ahead and check it out. You might have a lot more fun than I did personally. Again, I give them some appreciation for some of the things they did, like including 2-player local. That's actually very nice, because, you know, that's, while it's not dead like it was during the PS3 and 360 era, where it was really getting super uncommon. We've been having a lot of games again have split screen, co-op, local, and stuff being available again, but still not like everywhere, especially in the AAA space. Definitely not in the AAA space. But yeah, this game's a bit. Anyway. Those are my thoughts on the Bluecoats, North versus South. I consider it a dud myself. Even with a local thing, it's just that would add more fun to it, in my opinion. But yeah, it still feels like a really small game that's a little overpriced, honestly. So